welcome to Seesar Gear. Today we're going to talk about a very rare, fun little DIY synth called the Blooper Eel. It is something created by Captain Credible. It says so right here, Captain Credible. And the Blooper Eel is, I'm going to say, fairly simple little tiny device. However, it is super cool. It is effectively an Atari Punk console type of a analog synth that is just, and I say analog, it's got a digital IC, so maybe I shouldn't call it that. But it's a master oscillator and a slave oscillator, and they mess with each other, and they are controlled by light sensors. So you have modulation and pulse width, I suppose, is what's controlled by the light sensors. And then, of course, you have lights to operate that. And these little cute guys back here, these pots, are what controls the light oscillation, light pulse width, etc. Yeah, so you can have like a pretty decent number of sounds with it, and it's a really great tiny little sound source. It's driven by a flat, like these are watch batteries, like maybe this is a 1.5 or a 3 volt or something. I can't remember. I'll have to look and see. But it's it's just a watch battery. And the kit, as far as I know, unfortunately, is no longer available. You have to kind of dig them up as a secondhand, something that wasn't built, or something that somebody's built and they're just getting rid of it. I got mine on Reverb, I believe, and it was more expensive than I wanted to spend, but I didn't want to let it go, so I went ahead and paid the price. I think I spent $49 on it, something like that. It's worth it. It's worth it for me. It's been a really, really fun thing to have around. And if nothing else, it's great for testing equipment. It's this tiny little handheld thing. But I've used it for shows. I've taken it to gigs and actually driven in, entire sets of pedals and other synth link ups and so forth and so on with this amazing little super tiny, it's like an inch and a half by an inch and a half squared PCB with stuff on it. So it's very cool. The one thing that I think is good and bad at the same time. Bad's not the right word. I'm going to take that back immediately. There's nothing bad about it, but something that you have to really keep in mind is that to trigger the sound, you have to use this reversed interrupt button. So it's a temporary button, and when you depress the button, you get sound. When you let go of the button, it has a decay of the power draining from the system, and so it has this slowing down trail of decay cycles that go on for quite a while. And so you have to plan for those two things. You have to plan for the fact that there is no way to cut this off immediately unless you have a volume pedal, and to keep it going, you have to press the button. So I'm going to play it initially the way it's intended, or the way it was designed. That doesn't mean it's intended, I guess. And I'm even gonna cut off. I have the reverb unit over here. This is the tasty Keeley Electronics and Pedal Partners Realizer that I like a whole lot. I'm going to talk about this in a different video, though. This is all about the Blooper Eel. Let's hear what it sounds like on its own, and then I'll show you the ups and downs of the interrupt button, and then we'll talk about how to change that if you want to. So to get any sound, you have to depress the button, and you have to hold it. And if you change the potentiometers. You get, variance in the pulsing, and then when you let go, it takes a while for it to trail off. Depending on what your settings you have when you let go of it, it can go on for quite a while. When you add in the realizer, it can go on for quite a while, which of course is really cool. That's something that I do on purpose, but again, something to be aware of. Another thing too is that it's sort of intended to be part of the performance. So you can actually, like, a negative, and this unfortunately is sort of a negative, it's got little spikies on the back of the button where you have to solder it in, and yeah, I mean, that is where I soldered it in. So I probably should trim those or put something on it, like a little pad or something, so that I'm not leaving dents in my finger. But the way I typically play it anyway, because I want something that has a longer sustain to it, like I want to be able to manipulate the device with both hands freely, because I want to be able to move both knobs at the same time. Also, I want to be able to manipulate the LDRs at the same time, and there's some more LDRs on the bottom down here. And to do that, what I've done is I've just taken a close peg and clamp it on. Sometimes it takes takes a good adjustment, and that's because of the spikes on the bottom. I'm literally, as I'm talking about this, I'm realizing, yeah, I can fix that. Why am I even complaining about that? So if I want to have a consistent sound, I use a close peg and get it where it'll work. Oh dear. And now I have a consistent sound. And I don't have to hold it. Now I can. And then when I want to stop, I just take the peg off. So that's my performance technique with this. Obviously, there's several things to consider. There's another thing too. You're instructed to have these LDRs and LEDs in a configuration where they're up and mobile, and I do agree with that. I do think that's the way to go. But if you wanted to, you could be elaborate and make more of a Vactrol out of them, but I would suggest a Vactrol that has some means of interrupting the signal between the two of them, or introducing another signal, because another technique that I like to do is introduce a light source. So let's get this back going. Let's get this back going. Oh, bloody hell. There we go. So if I take a torch, so that's pretty fun. It gives me some good hyper noisy, like it's pretty shrill, it's pretty aggressive, but it also gives me a nice performative aspect. And I'm going to cite one of my favorite performative acts that utilizes a lot of this sort of technology, and that's Black Magic Cyborg. Shout out to Black Magic Cyborg. He takes bones that I believe he has an uncle with a farm, and his uncle gives him bones. I believe this is correct. He may need to correct this. And he takes the bones and he inputs LDR triggers, controllers into that, and controls scents and pheromones and whatnot with his light sensors. And he often uses a torch. And that's something that just looks really good on stage, as well as gives him the means to be expressive and smooth with glissandos, or active and quick changes, etc. And he's uses the LDRs intelligently for both actual musical changes and physical movement. And I think that's very inspiring. So hats off to Black Magic Cyborg for that one. All right, let's add in the Keeley Pedal Partners Realizer and make even more noises, because this this is just a additive that isn't necessary because this is so good by itself, but I like it, and we're going to do it anyway. Let's get it started here. Oh, it's already got an eerie tone. Bloody hell. That was great. So maybe the realizer is a little bit more effective than I realized. Yeah, well done, Keeley and Pedal Partners. That was tasty. So there you have it. This is going to be a short one today. There's maybe not a lot to describe about this. I did want to mention it, though, because it's something that I find to be very useful on multiple levels, practical levels, sonic levels, and functional levels, we'll say, like if portability and testing purposes, and unique little sounds that you can add to a live show, etc. So thumbs up to Captain Credible. I think the Blooper Eel is a smashing hit. I wish they were still in production, but I think they made a certain number, or he made a certain number, and then that sold out, and that was it, and decided not to reorder, I guess, something like that. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I don't know why I'm guessing. I would love for Captain Credible to see this review and correct me on horrible things that I've said wrong, and then make a bunch more and sell me 2 more, because I would love to use multiple ones and at the same time, and have a light show. I do have a project actually that I was working on. There's a woman named, I believe her name online is Sarah Build Sequencers, and I have not contacted her, but she's pretty fabulous, and she has what she called, I believe it was an electric seance. And it's something that I tried to build, and I was successful to some degree, and I want to take a cascading light flashing circuit that I built and use that to manipulate her LDR driven electric seance gone wrong. I can't remember what she called it, something like that. But it's very similar to this, is why I'm bringing it up. And you could do the same thing with this. You could have multiple light sources, CV controlled light sources even, that you could incorporate with one or more blooper eels. I think that would be a lot of fun and certainly a good visual thing to include at a live gig. So again, well done, Captain Credible. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see other stuff, obviously you can check out SeesarMusic.com/gear if you want to hear about my compositions or join the army of people that are amassing playing my graphic score compositions. Then check me out on SeesarMusic.com/compositions, and you can hear my music on the releases page. You can also catch up to me on Instagram at either Seesar_music or Seesar_gear. See you in the next one. Ba-boom.